Good afternoon, Virgo. Um, I need to tell you something you don't want to hear. Something that's going to sting at first, but will set you free if you let it. That person you're thinking about right now, the one whose text patterns you analyze, whose social media you check, whose every word you dissect for hidden meaning. You're overthinking a connection that isn't going anywhere. And the overthinking isn't happening because the connection is deep. It's happening because the connection is unclear, because you're trying to solve a puzzle that has missing pieces. Pieces they're deliberately not giving you. This isn't about being negative or pessimistic. This is about waking you up before you invest another 6 months of mental energy into someone who's showing you through their actions that you're not a priority, who's giving you just enough attention to keep you hooked, but not enough consistency to build anything real. And your brain is working overtime trying to make sense of that gap, trying to explain away the inconsistency, trying to find reasons why this time it's different, why you should keep waiting, why they deserve another chance. So let's explore this. Why you're overthinking, what that overthinking is really telling you, and how to recognize when it's time to stop investing in connections that aren't investing in you. Take what resonates here. This is about clarity and self-protection. You remain in control of where you put your energy, always. This is simply an invitation to redirect that energy somewhere. It might actually grow into something real. Let me start by explaining what overthinking actually is in this context, because it's not the same as thinking deeply about someone you care about. Overthinking happens when you're trying to create certainty where there is none, when you're analyzing their behavior because their words don't match their actions, when you're replaying conversations looking for clues about how they really feel because they won't just tell you directly, when you're constantly wondering where is this going because they've never given you a clear answer. You know, it doesn't require overthinking. Clear connections. When someone is genuinely interested, when they're actually available, when they want something real with you, you don't have to decode their behavior. They communicate, they're consistent, they make plans, they follow through. You know where you stand because they tell you and show you. There's no mystery, no guessing, no mental gymnastics required to figure out if they like you. So if you're overthinking, that's information. That's your system telling you something is off. That the connection isn't clear because the person isn't making it clear. And unclear usually means unwilling, not unable, unwilling. Let me ask you some hard questions, and I need you to answer them honestly. How often do you hear from this person? Not when you reach out, when they initiate. How consistent is their communication? Do they disappear for days and then resurface like nothing happened? Do they make concrete plans with you? Or is it always, let's hang out sometime, that never becomes a specific day and time? When you're together, are they present or distracted? Do they ask about your life or just talk about themselves? Do they remember things you've told them, or do you have to repeat yourself constantly because they're not really paying attention? And most importantly, have they made it clear that they want to build something with you? Or are they keeping things vague and undefined? Your answers matter. Because if you're doing all the reaching out, all the planning, all the emotional labor, if they're inconsistent and vague and never quite available enough, you're not overthinking a deep connection. You're over investing in a one-sided situation. You know what I'm picking up on most strongly? You're staying because of potential, because of who they could be if they just got their life together, if they just healed from their ex, if they just weren't so busy, if they just recognize what you have. You're in love with the future version of this connection instead of being honest about the present reality of it. And that's keeping you stuck because potential isn't real. Potential is a story you're telling yourself to justify staying in something that isn't serving you. Here's the brutal truth. If they wanted to, they would. If they wanted to text you consistently, they would. If they wanted to make you a priority, they would. If they wanted to define the relationship, they would. People make time for what matters to them. People are clear about what they want. And if this person isn't making time, isn't being clear, it's not because they're scared or confused or damaged. It's because you're not what they want enough to overcome those obstacles. And that hurts to hear. I know it does. But it's kinder than letting you waste another year hoping they'll change. Um, Let me slow down here because I need to address why you're staying, why you're tolerating breadcrumbs and calling them meals. And it's usually not about them at all. It's about you, about what you believe you deserve, about your fear of being alone, about your pattern of choosing people who aren't available because available feels boring or scary or too vulnerable. You're overthinking this connection because overthinking feels like doing something. It feels like you're working on the relationship even when there's no actual relationship to work on. It gives you a sense of control in a situation where you actually have none because you can't control them. You can't make them choose you. You can't think your way into their commitment. But you can control where you put your energy. And right now, you're putting it into someone who isn't reciprocating, someone who's getting all the benefits of your attention without having to give you any of the security or clarity you need. And the longer you stay, the more you teach them that this is acceptable, that they can keep you on the hook with minimal effort. Let me tell you what's actually happening in connections like this. They're breadcrumbing you, giving you just enough attention to keep you interested, but never enough to build something real. They like having you available. They like the ego boost of knowing someone cares about them. But they don't like you enough to actually commit, to actually show up consistently, to actually risk being vulnerable with you. And you're making excuses for them. They're just really busy right now. They're not good at texting. They're still healing from their last relationship. But here's the thing. People who want you make exceptions. They may not be good at texting generally, but they text you. They may be busy, but they carve out time for you. They may be healing, but they're honest about where they are instead of stringing you along. So stop explaining away their behavior. Start seeing it for what it is. Disinterest masked as complexity. Drop a comment if you've been in this situation, if you've ever spent months or years overthinking someone who never actually chose you clearly. Because I think most people have been here and there's no shame in it. But there is power in recognizing it and choosing differently going forward. You know what else I need to tell you? This overthinking is stealing your life. While you're obsessing over someone who's lukewarm about you, you're missing actual opportunities. You're unavailable to people who might genuinely want you. You're not present in your own life because you're living in your head trying to decode someone else's mixed signals. And time passes. Months become years. You look back and realize you spent your 20s or 30s waiting for someone who was never going to show up the way you needed, who was never going to give you what you deserved. And you can't get that time back. You can't reclaim the opportunities you missed because you were holding space for someone who wasn't holding space for you. Let's sit with this for a moment. What if you stopped overthinking and started accepting? Accepting that this person is showing you who they are, that their inconsistency isn't a riddle to solve, but a truth to acknowledge, that you're not confused about them. They're just not giving you what you need. And that's enough reason to walk away. You don't need them to be a bad person to justify leaving. You don't need dramatic betrayal to give yourself permission to choose yourself. You're allowed to walk away from lukewarm, from inconsistent, from unclear, from situations that require you to constantly question where you stand. You're allowed to want someone who's sure about you, who shows up for you, who makes you feel secure instead of anxious. Let me offer you some signs that you're overthinking a connection that isn't going anywhere. 1, you're always the one reaching out first. If you stopped initiating, the connection would die. That's not a connection. That's you doing all the work. 2, they're hot and cold. Some days they're all over you. Other days they ghost. You never know which version you're going to get. That's not mystery. That's instability. And instability doesn't create healthy foundations. 3, they won't define the relationship. You've tried to have the what are we conversation and they dodge it. They say they don't like labels or they're not ready or they want to just see where it goes. Translation, they want the benefits of your attention without the commitment of actually being with you. 4, their actions don't match their words. They say they care about you but don't show up when you need them. They say they want to see you but never make concrete plans. They say you're special but treat you like you're optional. Believe actions over words, always. 5, you feel anxious more than you feel happy. If the connection creates more stress than joy, more confusion than clarity, more doubt than security, it's not the right connection. Good relationships should add to your peace, not destroy it. Let me ask you one final question. What are you actually getting from this connection? Be honest, not what you hope you'll get eventually. What are you getting right now? Is it companionship? Not really, because they're barely around. Is it emotional support? Not if you can't count on them. Is it clarity about a future together? Definitely not if they won't even define what you are now. So what is it? The hope that they'll change? The fantasy of who they could be? The addiction to the intermittent reinforcement of their attention? Because those aren't good reasons to stay. Those are trauma responses, patterns from childhood playing out in your adult relationships. And you deserve better than to recreate your wounds with people who will never heal them. Here's what I want you to do. For 1 week, stop reaching out. Don't text first. Don't make plans. Don't check their social media. Just stop and see what happens. See if they notice your absence. See if they reach out. See if they make any effort to maintain the connection without you doing all the work. And if they don't, if a week goes by and you don't hear from them, you have your answer. The connection isn't going anywhere because they're not invested in taking it anywhere. And you can stop overthinking and start grieving and then start moving on. And if they do reach out, pay attention to what they say and how quickly they say it. If it takes them 5 days to send a casual, hey, what's up? That's not someone who's deeply invested. If they notice immediately and check in with genuine concern, maybe there's something there. But even then, you need to ask yourself, is their bare minimum enough for you? Or do you deserve someone who shows up consistently without you having to withdraw to get their attention? Take what resonates from this reading, leave what doesn't, and remember that you remain in control of your choices, of your boundaries, of where you invest your precious energy. You're overthinking a connection that isn't going anywhere. And I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying it to free you, to release you from the mental prison of trying to make sense of someone who's deliberately keeping things unclear, to give you permission to stop waiting and start living. Trust your inner knowing. Trust the anxiety you feel. Trust that if you have to work this hard to figure out if someone likes you, they probably don't like you enough. Trust that you deserve someone who makes their interest unmistakable. Trust that the right person won't make you overthink. They'll make you feel sure. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to hear difficult truths. Thank you for caring enough about yourself to reconsider what you're accepting. You're exactly where you need to be. At the crossroads between staying stuck and choosing yourself, between wasting more time and reclaiming your energy, between overthinking and finally accepting. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.